Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Nice Guys Retaliate, or When Nice Guys Retaliate. I'm the King's Kid. I basically had a video. It's more of a response video to something I saw on YouTube. I saw a show where these guys went around asking females, hey, what do you bring to the table? And a lot of the females that answered, they kind of would say something to the fact of, I am the table. I was like, So I decided to do this video to kind of, well, maybe provide some insight on what I feel guys are talking about when they ask this question, and also ways to answer it, and maybe you can get a compliment out of it. So, title of this is, what do you bring to the table? And how should you approach it? Alright. It's a new question. It's basically used to determine, you can say if you're marriage material, but it could be just more just to see what's on your mind from the guy's point of view. What do you bring to the table is kind of more like a business type term. Usually you'll see it in something like an interview, or maybe a negotiation between businesses to see what each other has to actually offer. To me, I think it's a fair question that most women imply. When you talk to a man and you ask him, hey, do you have a job? Do you have kids? What are your long-term goals? Do you have a house? Questions like that are really the same thing. It means the same thing as what the guy is asking, is what do you bring to the table? It seems like women ask that question all the time. They get answers, but now men are starting to actually do the same thing. So now with, like I said, with new times, men are starting to ask questions just like women, what do you bring to the table? It's basically because right now it's not enough to be beautiful, it's not enough to be successful. Men are basically more on guard now about their heart. I imagine it sounds maybe aggressive to most women, but I would ask, how would you approach a man with the questions, those questions about what does he bring to the table for you? And if you expect an answer from a guy, then I think it's only fair to give an answer if he asks you a question. Basically, I saw a couple of videos with guys asking women, what do you bring to the table? But most of the women didn't really seem like they understood the question. Or either that, they were like, well, doggone it, I am the table and I'm the best you're going to get, or whatever, I don't know. So it's kind of a weird answer, I think, from a guy's point of view when you say that. But that specific answer, they only had like maybe one female that had a decent answer, And but if a guy asks you something, if he asks you, what do you bring to the table? If it's a passing, or if it's actually somebody you're in a relationship with, the last thing you want to say is, I am the table. That's one of the last things. For me, if I was in that situation and a female responded to me, hey, I am the table, that would be the last. I wouldn't want to talk to her anymore after that. That would just make me feel like she was just so far above me, or her thinking was so far above me, that I just ain't got time for that type of stuff. It almost implies that anything that person has is better than what I have to offer, or the guy has to offer, which in a little way is a little insulting. But it could, in some cases, be insulting to you. Hopefully the guy, when he's asking the question, he's not asking that in a disrespectful way. But it is very important to know how to respond to the question. If he's asking, especially if he's asking you, if he hadn't just downright just said no to you, I don't want to be with you, and he's asking you a question, it's even more important to have a good answer. To kind of explain the thought process behind the question, I like to compare things to different situations. And I think you can equate this question from guys to interviewing for a dream job. You really want this dream job. And so you want to make your impression as good as possible. So the panel is basically, in the terms of what do you bring to the table, it's like going to the interview panel and them saying, hey, why should I hire you? It kind of brings the same pressure because it's sometimes a lot of people aren't just prepared for that question, which is understandable, and the reason why you should be prepared for it. What would happen if you were in this interview and you answered, they said, the people in the interview said, hey, what are you bringing to the table for this job? And you said, well, I am everything you need. Just hire me. That is like the response, I am the table. But basically, they probably are not going to hire you based off that response because you didn't tell them anything. They already know you could be qualified for the job, but they don't specifically know. Your resume may say certain things, but when they're interacting with you, they want to know who you are and what you bring to the job. So, on the other hand, how you could answer that question if you're going for a job interview is hopefully you would already know something about the question, about the company before you go into the interview. And you can evaluate the company's their track record, deficiencies in some type of area, and you could come up with something. Let's just say you could state that an obvious lack in sales for communities of color, and then you can state of how you, with your verifiable skills, can actually make the company perform better in this particular area. And if you can come up with something like that, you know, it applies to that company. It's something that's going to make them better. It's going to make you really, really attractive as far as somebody they want to hire because you're actually showing that you know about the company and that you care about the company, and you see an area of how your presence in the company is going to make it better. But basically, for relationships, you should want to kind of bring the same mentality, okay? And yeah, guys should do the same thing, but I think it's already kind of built into the questions that a lot of females will already ask guys or try to already see, because you can tell by the way a guy dresses, the way he acts, the car he drives. Certain things already give a glimmer, or however you want to say, or a peek into what a guy can actually do, or as far as being in a relationship with you. Reasons for this change is right now women basically initiate about 80% of the divorces. Today's women, in a lot of cases, they kind of act more like guys, which is not cool, you know. At least for a man, you know, a man just purely heterosexual man does not want to see guy-like characteristics in a female. It's just a turn-off. So in some cases, it seems like you have a lot of people who try to just win at any cost. They're going to try to do whatever they want to do to get what they want, and they don't care who they mess up. No, the guy they mess up, his finances. If you get even if you're a good guy and you get a divorce, you can have to pay alimony, child support. You might have to fight for custody of your kids. But it's basically more stress than it could be possibly worth if you're with the wrong person. If you're with the right person, you shouldn't have any issues. But if the wrong person, not so good. That goes both ways. But if you're a man who's trying to marry somebody forever, you're really gonna want to make sure that you're with the right person. So, like I said before, being just beautiful, it don't work no more. I mean, in some cases it do, but it's starting to leave. As a lot of women are saying, hey, we don't want to be looked at for our looks. Guess what? You're getting that answer to your prayer. Guys are saying, you know what? Looks ain't all that. If you can look at something, if you got a fancy car in your driveway and you can't drive it, what's the purpose of having a car? So, bragging, whatever. But now, it's got to be more than just looks. Also, divorce rates are higher for black women than other races. At this point, it seems like you have about a 50-50 chance of being with somebody that, is going to be forever. 50-50. So, 50-50, if you went into a surgery and the doctor told you had a 50-50 chance of living through the surgery, that would kind of be a little stressful or make you think about whether you want to take that surgery or not. In some cases, it might not be worth taking that surgery. But 50-50 is not good odds when you're talking about love or surgery. Let's see. Also, it doesn't seem like a lot of women really care about how marriage is. It seems like it's a little bit loaded against men nowadays. It's kind of changing a little bit with women making more money and going through the alimony and all this stuff, and even fighting for kids. But right now, it's probably more heavily. It's more a disadvantage to a man than it is for a woman. I mean, if you get married, you get divorced, I don't think it's gonna. As far as your career-wise, it won't hurt you as bad as a man. Well, depends on the situation. But, yeah, we'll just keep that. But if you don't care, I think that's a red flag for you as a female, as a person. I would not trust somebody who just don't care about how anything is going to affect a man. Also, there seems like a lot of women are valuing career status and wealth over love, which is another reason why, men are going to have to be more careful about who they choose to marry. Because if you care about those things more than you care about your relationship, then that's not going to be very good and it could lead to some other issues. Let's see. All right. So back to the table. Going to the table. To me, the first question you should ask is, what role are you playing at the table? And knowing who you are and what you want before you approach the table, I think is probably two of the most important things you can actually know before you even get there. Also, going to the table is going to depend on your relationship with the other person at the table. So for yourself, are you every man's dream? If you are, no man is going to want to compete with another man over you. That's why a lot of times when you have if a female has a kid, a guy is not really going to want to compete with that other guy, for you. That should not be on the table. But because there's a possibility, that's just stress most people probably don't want to deal with. Are you a player? A player is somebody who uses men to get what they want. Are you a friend? will you be there? The friend will be there. A dream chaser is somebody who sees a man, goes after him, really not knowing who the man is, or if the man is compatible with you, just chasing after the dream. Are you desperate? Which is, that person could be a manipulator, could have kids, could take anything or anyone that will show them attention. Are you a follower? A follower just follows the crowd. They want to be married or in a relationship, but don't really know the reasoning behind it. Basically doing what everybody else is doing. Are you a life goal achiever? A life goal achiever is, some people have like a bucket list they want to do, but then you have women who have life goals, or people, it could be a guy too, but hey, by the time I'm 20, I want to be doing in college. By the time I'm 30, I want to be married with 2 kids. By the time I'm 40, I want to be manager. By the time I'm 50, I want to be preparing for retirement, you know. But this particular person doesn't necessarily focus on the actual things they want to do in a way. Let's just say they're more focused on checking off things at a certain point in their life than actually, how do you say, enjoying those things. So even if a relationship, if you get married, they might be just like, hey, I got married and that's it. So they don't take any other care of the marriage. They just say, whoop, that's a box check. And they keep pressing. So that's just not necessarily a good type of mindset or a person to be in a relationship with, because it's probably going to end. You have other people who are maybe keeping up with the Joneses. This person may sacrifice financial security, relationships, and peace just to appear to be doing as well as another family that they may be envying. But it's really just the act in a hollow house. It's probably going to fall apart. Potential wife is going to be a friend, respect the man, loves the man despite flaws, financially secure, and a team player, realistic about life goals, provides sexual security, provides emotional security. Gold digger is the next person. Build a man, which is female that tries to make a man to what she wants him to be, can be highly critical. Then you have the queen. The queen is basically wants the president to bow down to her, but lead at the same time. And it's kind of like a mentality that just can't be pleased, you know. And then the other side of it is, what is the guy? The guy can have the same qualities I just listed off. And I've actually listed them. But who is he? Dating should be as much as a quest to find out what you like in a man as opposed to who you like. It should also help you get to know yourself. So knowing who he is also going to be very beneficial for you. So if he's every woman's dream, that doesn't mean he wants to be yours. Don't chase another woman's dream. At least that's my opinion. Unless you have his heart, he's probably not going to ever settle down with you. Somebody can probably get his heart, but unless you know for sure you have it, and his actions are lining up with his words, he's probably not for you. Especially if you see him with somebody else or hear him being with somebody else. A guy could be the player also. He could be the friend. He could be the dream chaser. He could be desperate. You know, desperate people can just take just about any woman, just, you know, they'll give them attention. Could be a follower. That's basically they could want to be with somebody, but they're not really sure why they want to be with somebody, but because everybody else is doing it, hey, I'm supposed to be married or whatever. They'll do it because of that. You can also have the life goal achiever. Some people have bucket lists, and they just want to check off things in their life is done. And as long as it's done, they don't care about, what happens after it's done, you know. But I think that's just not a good way to live, And it could be part of your life, but it shouldn't be the primary focus to check off things in your life. Because sometimes life is not going to necessarily be as peaceful or as in line as we hope it to be. You hear stories about actresses, they go over to Hollywood, or actors, they go over to Hollywood and they're working in a bar or working in a restaurant for 5-10 years before they get found by somebody, But life, it's really, really, for somebody to have everything go the way they want in life is a real serious blessing. But I don't think a lot of people are going to actually have that experience. So you got to be flexible with your life. Flexible with craziness in your life. Like even with this COVID-19 thing, it's messing up some people's lives right now. And so how we thought things were supposed to be or may not actually happen the way we want to. But give yourself grace and give other people grace, This person can also be the keep up with the Joneses. Somebody's got a Corvette, he wants a Corvette. If he's like that, then that's a financial. To me, keeping up with somebody else is just dumb. I'd rather compete with myself than compete with other people. But if you're trying to compete with other people, I think Kevin Hart had something where he was trying to compete with somebody getting tables and stuff like that. But that person was way more rich than he was, and he did it one night. The other dude wanted to do like 2 nights. It's like, nah, forget that. Just stay in your own lane as far as financial type stuff. Work it up as you can. Now, this guy could be a potential husband. He could be a friend. He could hopefully respect you. He loves you despite your flaws. Financially secure. Also a team player. Realistic about life goals. Provide sexual security and also emotional security. But guy could be a gold digger. He could be a builder. He could be the king. The guy who's the king, he wants all the women to bow down to him. And he doesn't want to be questioned. But knowing who you are coming to the table and who the person is at the table that you want to be with are 2 very important things you really want to consider for this particular conversation. Because if you're anything but a wife, then you're probably going to have some issues. Even if you get the person who's a potential husband. Because if you're not ready for the husband, or vice versa, it's just a mismatch, and it's just going to cause chaos. So you can actually be in a relationship with somebody who's the perfect person for you. But if you're not ready for them, if you haven't got to the point where you're ready to settle down with a person, then you can actually destroy the best relationship for you by not being ready. All right. Now, if you're in a situation where you want to ask a question to a guy, I wouldn't say, why don't you marry me yet? But at the same time, I would also prepare for rejection. The question I would say is, what do you feel I bring to the table? That's what you should ask the potential guy. Now, it can end in rejection, or it could end in you finding out what he sees you bringing to the table. I would like to say that rejection is not a bad thing, okay? It may feel bad, but it's really not a bad thing in the grand scheme of things. It just means he may not be the right person for you. It may not be the right time, or whatever. Or it could just be later. But But even if it's later, you always want to at least leave a good impression on somebody. One of the worst things you can do is have a person that likes you, let's just say when you're young, and you don't like them, but you treat them bad. Now you grow up, you're an adult, they're an adult, now all of a sudden he's interested. Well, he could be, you're interested, but he's not because of the way he was treated before. So you always want to leave the door open for possibilities, because you never know. That person who you are mean to, 10 years ago, may be the person that you need today. So you always want to leave a good impression. Also, that person could have a friend that might be interested, or you could be. You just don't know just yet. I think a lot of times in a group, we'll look at the person that's the most attractive person in the group, but we don't realize, or see that there are people around them. They can have same characteristics or better characteristics, and they could be a potential suitor for you. Also, another reason to leave a good impression is because basically you can have a change of heart. Or you could actually have a friend that may be a better match for you. So you always want to keep that door open for networking. But if it does end out in a rejection, that's still a good thing. Because you don't want to be with somebody who don't want to be with you, but you wear them down to the point they do say, yeah, sure, I'll be with you. Because that's just horrible. You want to be with somebody that wants to be with you as much as you want to be with them. Let's see. But, asking this question may actually tell you the particular level of the relationship and whether you should progress or basically take off. I don't think you should stay in relationships too long because you can actually, squish. You can just say, you can get to a point where you overlook a situation that you should be out of. You don't want to get to that point. I would say give a certain time frame, maybe 6 months max. If at 6 months it doesn't seem like it's going to the next level, time to go deuces. Now, at the very minimum, in this particular situation, when you say, hey, you ask a person, what do you feel I bring to the table? If it's a good person, if it's a bad person, maybe you're a crazy answer, get up out of there. Ain't no time for playing people who don't respect you or treat you right. But at the very minimum, when you ask this question, they should be able to confirm what you think you already bring to the table. If not, then you need to figure out what you need to do. But at the same time, the things that they do tell you that are good, you should write those things down, because those are the perception of somebody else that is a potential. And you can always use those particular items as